Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video we're going to look at why I like the idea of the Outdoor Research Healing Bivvy in theory, but in practice I am going to sell it. And I'm also going to introduce you to the bivvy bag I bought as an alternative. I like the idea of the Outdoor Research Healing Bivvy because it's got a really small pack size. You can reduce that further if you take the little pole out and you can squish it down further into a dry bag. Only weighs around 550 grams and that is it. That's your complete shelter. Just the couple of DAT pegs just to peg it at the front and back, and that is it. That's all you need. Setup is extremely straightforward, so I recommend is putting one peg in the back, put the single pole in. When that's in, then just dap the second peg in. Obviously just peg it out with the first one just to make sure it doesn't blow away in the wind if it's windy conditions where you're pitching it. What I liked about the Healing Bivvy was that quick setup, and then because you've got the single hoop at the end, you have got a bit of headroom, and with the mesh netting as well, you can have the outer unzipped and just have a bit of fresh air, bit of breeze blowing past, and a bit of breathability. The main selling point of this bivvy to me was just that all-in-one. You didn't need a tarp, you didn't need to take trekking poles, you didn't need to take anything else at all. That little pack size is everything you needed for a safe night's sleep. However, like a lot of things in life, sometimes you can absolutely love the idea, but in practice it just is not for you. So I took this on a 26-mile hike. I hiked about 21 miles the first day, a long old day, so I was looking forward to getting into bed and getting some sleep. Obviously pitching it was a piece of cake. It was hard to find a pitch because it was really windy, but I found a sheltered spot, and obviously because of the size of the bivvy it was easy to find the space for it. Getting into it, actually getting into it when you're tired, you're sore, you're aching all over, you had a big backpack on all day because I carry a lot of camera gear and stuff, that was just an absolute nightmare. It was a very humid day as well, so I was slightly damp still from the walk. Trying to get into the sleeping bag was just about okay, but trying to get into the sleeping bag liner was just an absolute nightmare. I was getting cramps in various parts of my body from trying to get into it. The idea being as well as you store some of your valuables around the inner of the tent, but obviously that's all got to come out for you to try to get into it. And yeah, because it's this kind of thing is always flat in your face no matter how hard you try and put it up, so you can't really see what your legs are doing, so you can't really see where your sleeping bag liner is, and it's cotton, so it's getting it was just an absolute nightmare. And when it comes to going to sleep then, had this tied back as best I could and just had the mesh up, but this bit was still sort of flapping in your face, and because of the humidity and it was a little bit cool air that night, the condensation was absolutely horrific despite being completely open. And then because it was completely open, the wind that was going a little bit sideways past me because there's very few places to pitch was just getting my head freezing cold. So I tried to sort of zip one side up a bit to give me a bit of wind protection, but yeah, I did not sleep well at all, not entirely down to the bivvy, but yeah, for me, the biggest bugbear of this style of bivvy is just getting into it, just having this front only opening. It's just an absolute nightmare. And although I liked the idea that this is an all-in-one waterproof bivvy that, you know, that's all you need to pack up and go, I would not want to be in this during rain, because you'd just be as soaked from condensation as you would from the rain itself, and there's no real way, you know, you've obviously got to have a very slight opening to make sure you can keep breathing and stuff, but you're going to have absolutely zero breathability. I don't care what manufacturers say about breathability of materials. Here in the UK, with the relative humidity and moisture in the air and rain mostly around, no, this bivvy is just not for me for those reasons. The other thing that annoyed me about the bivvy is the 2 peg and out points. Yes, it saved a little bit of weight only having 2 peg and out points, but even when I had a sleep mat and all my gear inside, it still just did not maintain any kind of structure. It's just far too saggy. If you had a pegging point at each corner just to tension out a little bit, I think it would have made a huge difference, but there just isn't one on there, and I'm not the sort of person who's going to go around trying to sew one on or glue on a new peg and out point. It's just, no, that to me, they could put them on there and leave it as your choice. It's only going to, it's not going to weigh like a gram just having one tiny little loop for an extra peg and out point. Now there is an additional loop here which you can add your own guy lines to and do that, which I was going to do, but I thought actually, you know, if that was something you really needed to do with the bivvy, then why didn't they include the guy lines? They didn't, but I think really to make it more usable, you would need to do that. But again, even though you can add more tension to the front point, you've only got a tension at one corner at either side, so you're still not going to get any kind of tension. You're still going to get the material completely sat on you, which obviously that's just part of the course in the bivvy, but then why bother with the hoop? Taking all of that into account, what have I gone and bought myself that's a little bit different that I think is going to solve my main bugbears with the helium bivvy? It's right down here. So on the right we've got the helium bivvy, on the left we've got the Robbins mountain bivvy. Slightly different in style. The Robbins one has no pole, it's not waterproof, it weighs a little bit less than the helium bivvy. It's about 495 grams versus 550 grams. It's actually bigger, more generous, slightly wider, slightly longer. You should be able to fit in most of the sleep pad you want to use, and it's still got a little bit of mesh over your face. There's a couple of key differences that made me really want to try this bivvy. Now, first of all, let's address the lack of waterproof. Yes, it's not waterproof. The top is supposed to be highly water resistant, but it's not waterproof because you have got unsealed seams, and really it's designed to be used in dry weather or using with a tarp, where it's going to give you certainly some weather protection, especially the bottom. There's going to be good weather protection at the feet if you had sort of rain coming in slightly at the bottom of the tarp. But no, it's designed to be used with a tarp rather than on its own if there's any kind of bad weather expected. But it has got 4 peg and out points, which is only a very minor point, but I just like the fact it's got that good tension to it. But the main selling point is this, the zip. As you can see, it doesn't just zip along the top, zips down to there as well. So after a long day, you can have your sleeping bag and your sleeping mat all in there, and you can get in a much more leisurely fashion than you could before. And obviously if you're using the tarp because the weather's bad or you want a bit of wind protection, then there is actually a built-in little guy line to hoop it up and provide yourself with a nice airy headspace, as well as being able to put your gear at the top. Now you can put some gear at the top of the helium bivvy, but it's slightly defeated in terms of its real life use, because every time you want to get in or out of the bivvy, you've got to move all your stuff out of the way so you don't crush it as you try and slide or crawl out. Here at least, the stuff you put in the top is not going to have any impact on you getting in or out of the bivvy. This just gives you a better indication of the size differences. You can see the Robbins bivvy is a really generous one. You're going to have plenty of room for the thickest of sleeping bags and a really, really sizable, comfortable sleep mat as well. And the extra length gives you plenty of space to store valuables in the hood end as well. So for me, I've got action cameras, which obviously are robust and waterproof. I've also got some more delicate cameras and batteries and microphones and stuff, and other valuables which I'll keep at the top there. From this angle, you can definitely see the difference in length. I'll put the length specs and stuff in the description on screen at some point, but obviously visually you can see really easily just how much more generous the mountain bivvy is. It's a lot less like a body bag. It's a lot more sizable, and that side zip to me is the real game changer. And for me, I think having camped in a bivvy now, and I've done a tarp and a couple of different bivvy setups, I much prefer having one with a tarp. So yes, I have gone for something slightly different in terms of not having a hoop, but I just really like the idea of having a tarp and bivvy setup. I used my walking poles on the second day of that 26-mile trek. I really enjoyed using them again, so I think for all my long treks I'll definitely have hiking poles on me. I've got a very small, very light 190 gram Nordisk tarp I can use with it, so overall the weight is not much difference to the helium bivvy, but I think a bivvy and a tarp combo is just so much more flexible. And I think if at the end of a really hard day's hiking, I've done a couple of long hikes recently, just the idea of just unzipping this leisurely and getting into it and having the tarp shelter as well is just much different. Because the other point with the helium bivvy is if you are in rain, yes, it's waterproof, But someone like myself getting into it, taking like 5 minutes to get into the sleeping bag, you're going to be soaking wet, your stuff's going to be soaking wet, all your stuff outside's going to be soaking wet anyway, even if you have got dry bags and waterproof covers and stuff. Having that tarp shelter just gives you that bit more sort of comfort really, because you've got rain protection, and the tarp obviously is going to be fairly water resistant as well. So I'm not going to spend any more time on the mountain bivvy. It looks a really nice bit of kit. It's the first time I've got it out actually, but I'm looking forward to using that. So I'll do a review once I've used it a couple of times, and obviously I'll do a video onto whether this kind of bivvy is actually something that I get on with, because again, I love the idea of the mountain bivvy in the same I love the idea of the Healing bivvy, and I'm selling the Healing bivvy for that main purpose. And I've also got the bug bivvy version of that as well, which will also be getting rid of, because I think that's even tighter to get in and out of from the front. So anyway, obviously if you are looking at the Healing bivvy, you have got many different thoughts about using it probably, but the main thing I think for anybody using it is just whether they're comfortable with getting in and out from the top end, and whether you are comfortable with sort of masses of condensation and stuff. You obviously are going to get similar issues with this, but in terms of getting in and out of it, and you can leave it a lot more open than you would that, because you're going to be using the tarp with rain as well. So anyway, I hope that's been of any kind of use to you. If it has, drop the video a like, and if you want to see me out and about in the mountain bivvy, then just subscribe to the channel and catch my upcoming videos. Huge thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.